Happy Thursday, thankful Thursday to one and all. Thank you for being here today. I'm very excited to come and be in this divine gratitude and appreciation for this day. Not like this day is unlike any other day, but sometimes we want to step outside of the regular routine and just recognize. So, in this very moment, wherever you are, if you're at your office, if you're walking down the street, if you're sitting in your room, just take a breath with me and realize how blessed you are. So, on this Thursday, I say thank you, thank you, thank you, divine source and presence, for waking us up, for bringing forth this light and love and joy that is each of us. And as we give thanks and praise for that, we open our arms with divine loving acceptance and awareness for all that we meet and see. Thank you for this wonderful Thursday. So that being said, I'm so excited that we have one of our Divine Suite members joining me today that I have had the pleasure to get to know more and to experience his presence, his heart, and his consciousness. And without further ado, I'm bringing on Doug Cooper.
Gino. It's so good to be here.
I love it, Doug. How are you on this thankful Thursday?
I am great. I'm hot. I went for a walk in this Florida-like humidity, but everything's good.
I love it. I love it. You know, Doug and I have had a few wonderful experiences together. We traveled together and I really got a chance to know him. But the other day we actually had breakfast together and Doug shared something with me that I thought was so beautiful and profound. And before we get into the story, I want to ask you first, what led you on your spiritual journey?
You mean my bigger spiritual journey, or the other day when I ran away from home?
No, not the other day yet. We're going to get to that. Your bigger spiritual journey.
Wow, that's a good question. I grew up in a Reformed Jewish household. My family went to temple, synagogue, occasionally, and it just never connected with me. I was always, ethnically Jewish, and I believed in God, and I knew that there was a higher power. But I was always searching for something and something different. And back in I think the early '80s, when I moved to San Diego, I started going to Terry Cole Whitaker's church and early Science of Mind kind of teachings, at least here in San Diego. And I would just take her tapes. I'd buy her tapes in the back of the room, and I'd ride my bike around town, and I'd listen to those tapes and just drumming, that philosophy into my head. And then I found another church. It was called the American Holistic Church, and it was actually mostly psychics, people that were card readers and psychic readers and past life regression, and people that did that. And I really liked that. And it was kind of on the border of Science of Mindish kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then some years later, my wife Lorraine got involved with our Universal Spirit Center, our Spirit Center, and I came and it was like, wow, this is what I've been thinking about all these years. And it really resonated with me. And from the first sermon, I think I probably cried that day. And it was like, okay, this is my home. And we've had such a great, wonderful experience with all of our friends, made the greatest friends we've ever had, ever had in our lives, and practice the practices and give service, and it's just a wonderful connection.
Well, I mean, you and your beautiful wife do volunteer. You're very instrumental in the community. So I'd like to just ask you, because a lot of times people think because we go to a service, we go to church, or we go to a gathering, that that's sufficient. But community runs on people. What pulls your heart to make you want to volunteer, to make you want to participate, to make you want to get involved?
It's I can't really put it into any better words than I feel like it's I'm called
Hmm.
to do something. If I feel like I'm called to do something, it's sometimes I try and analyze it and figure out why, and I don't think there's any necessarily a good explanation, a literal explanation that I can come up with why I do things. But I find that the more that I do, and the more that I give of myself, and the more the better I feel. But also, I know that I feel like I'm changing the world, little by little, as much as I can. And I feel like these are opportunities that are given to me. It's less that I'm doing it to make myself feel better, but to it's like, wow, thank you for giving me this opportunity that I came upon to help
Mm.
somebody, or to go and to teach people English in Mexico, or whatever it is, and that makes me feel just good that I can contribute.
I love that. And I love that you brought up that, because I wanted to talk about that. I think that's so amazing that you stepped into this space, to this somewhat of a void, and you go to Tijuana every week.
Yeah,
You drive down there, you walk across the border, and you go in, and you're working with Haitians, Hispanic, Mexican. You're working with all different types of people that are
yeah.
wanting to better themselves. How did you get involved with that?
Well, we through the church, through the center, we started working with an organization called Border Angels, and Border
Mhm.
Angels takes convoys of, among the other things that they do, they take convoys of cars down to different shelters in Tijuana, and we bring food and clothing and personal items, and go to the different shelters where people are waiting for asylum, or refugees of
Mhm.
different types. They may be deported. They're kind of, they don't have anything really.
Wow.
And so then we met a woman, Maria Galleta is her name, and she has an organization where she started working with people that were deported.
Mm.
And that, I'm not sure exactly, she's been involved in lots of community organizations. I'm not sure how she settled on the deported uh, focus,
Aspect
people
of
who are
it.
deported.
Yeah.
But and we started to get to know, understand what she was doing, and then we organized a few trips down there for Thanksgiving to begin with, because a lot of the people that were deported, they used to live up here. They had lives for years, 30,
Wow.
40 years, and they celebrated American holidays. They could, they could have been service people who were, in the military, who came back and they got in trouble, and unfortunately, because they had green cards, they weren't full
Mm.
American citizens, they just deport them.
Wow.
And then if we're dealing with people that are here illegally all the time, that are serving us, that are behind the scenes, that are running, restaurants and other
Yes.
businesses, and that we couldn't get along without them. And we're usually quite happy that they're there, regardless of what their status is.
Right.
But when they get deported, they're completely separated from their families. So there's an example of, many examples of maybe women that get deported, and their kids they grew up in San Diego, and the mother is now down in TJ, and
Yeah.
the father and the daughter are in San Diego, and so this organization helps get them together. And
Love that.
sometimes, a lot of times, the children go and live with the parent who's been deported.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a little girl in my class she was deported. Her mother was deported when she was 8, and she speaks, fluent Spanish, and her English is better than anybody in the class because she grew up here.
Right,
And
right.
yet she can't really. They're just stuck. They're
Yeah.
we don't have a concept here of freedom. We think, oh well, we're free, isn't it wonderful? But until you've seen people that they just don't have any options, and they're like in jail down there.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't come back. There's hardly any
Can't move
jobs for
forward.
them.
They're just stuck. Like you said, they're just stuck.
Yeah, and so I just felt called to go down and see what was happening and help. And I said, hey, why don't I just can I teach an English class?
Wow.
And I started doing it. I've never been an English teacher, and I'd bring my whiteboard down there and walk across the border with a cart with a whiteboard and all my markers, and I would just give it a whirl. And then little by little, more and more people came, and then we had the pandemic, and for 2 years, just about, I didn't go down there.
Right.
And then I went back, and now, interestingly, over those 2 years, the Haitian population of people trying to cross it has grown significantly. So
Wow.
they're like the largest percentage of people that are in my English classes now, and they're in the same way. They can't go back to Haiti. The
Wow.
violence, political violence, or gangs, just horrible things that you hear about. And they worked their way up through 9 or 10 different South and Central American countries to get here, living in the jungles and seeing people dead and eaten by wild animals
Ah!
and the coyotes that rip them off, and they're sitting in TJ, trying their best to get over here legally,
Right.
and
Move forward. And
it's just
you're helping with that. I love that
right.
your love of of people and also of service. You have a love of service, Doug. You really do. And so I love that you share that. And um, I should have gotten you if there's an email information for us to be able to share, but you can always go through universalspiritcenter.org and we can get the information to you if you find that this is something that calls to you. Universalspiritcenter.org. But in regards to that, this running away from home, this light that came on, this was such a beautiful story. I'd love for you to share that.
Okay, so things in how we're so attached to our pets. I think
Yes.
people seem to nowadays, they love their pets more than they like people, I think. And the pets are, they give us so much emotional joy. And so my cat has been sick, and he's okay now, but we changed his.
We're having a little bit of a
Excuse me.
Wi-Fi. You were froze there for a little bit, but you're back. Okay.
I'm back on. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have, my cat is he's about 18 years old, and had some problems with his food, and it was just like, he's my cat is my baby, and I felt like so helpless to help him, and he was acting different than he ever was, and it's like, oh, I just can't handle this anymore.
Mm.
And how sometimes you just say to yourself, I just want to run away. I want to change my name. I want to be anonymous. I want to go start my life over. Like things are going to be different,
Right.
and they never are really. I mean, you go where that's that old saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. And then your
Yeah.
problems are with you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm laying in bed, just feeling horrible. And I said to Lorraine, my wife, I said, I just want to get in the car and run away. And she said, go ahead, do it. And so I, got my car tuned up, and I'm thinking about where I'm going to go. And the next day I said, okay, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm doing this, doggone it. I'm gonna
I'm
do it.
doing it. And so got in my car at 8 in the morning, and the night before I said, okay, I think I'm going to go to New Mexico. I've always wanted to go to Taos. Taos, New Mexico has always had some kind of fascination with me. I used to be a big snow skier, and I never went to Taos, but I always wanted to. So that was my goal. And I thought, okay, I'm going to find something in Taos. I'm going to make some spiritual connection. I'm going to figure out something to make me feel better,
Right.
solve my problem. So the first day I drove 12 hours straight. I drove
Wow.
through Arizona and got to New Mexico and stayed in a little town called Las Cruces.
Mm.
And the next day went to Santa Fe, and that was just gorgeous. I've never been to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it's gorgeous, and the people are nice, and the weather's nice, and something was changing. Kind of, I was feeling some sort of change as I was driving because I was going really slow. And a lot of times when we've taken trips up the coast or going places, we always say, okay, if we make good time, we can
Right.
be in San Francisco in 8 hours.
Right. Right. We
And then
hurry
you're
and
driving,
let's get there.
yeah, and I'm driving 80 miles an hour, and it's like and then I feel you feel this stress
Yeah.
of driving. So I said to myself, I don't have anywhere to be, no
Mm.
expectations. Don't have to meet anybody. I don't know where I'm going to stay any of the days that I'm going to go. And I was driving 55, 60 miles an hour the whole way.
Oh.
And it was so meditational and
Mm.
relaxing. And I
Mm.
looked at I have a little Prius, hybrid, and I'm looking at the mileage I'm getting. It's like I'm getting 60 miles to the gallon now instead of the 40 or
I can drive
35.
forever.
I'm gonna go forever, and then as I'm getting into New Mexico, the gas is $1 cheaper per gallon, and it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And New Mexico is so chill, and the people are nice, and you stop along the road, you can't hear anything. It's just like
Mm.
total silence.
Mm.
So got to Santa Fe, spent a night there, and that was nice, and then I said, okay, I'm going to Taos the next day. On the way to Taos, and tell me if I have too much time here, but uh, on the way I stopped at a spa. It was called Ojo Caliente, which means hot, like hot eye. I guess that's what it means. And it was a spa with arsenic baths and mud
Oh
baths,
wow.
and so I did that, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of all these this poison toxins or
Yeah.
whatever is in me. I felt okay, but didn't like solve whatever was going on. And I go to Taos, and there's a stop right outside of Taos, and there's the Rio Grande Gorge, and it's this big giant gorge in the ground with the Rio Grande that comes up from Mexico and goes all the way into Colorado. And I'm talking to this guy he parks his car there, and he's selling little trinkets. And I said, I came from San Diego, and my destination is Taos. I think I'm going to find something there. He said, maybe that's not your destination.
Oh.
So I go to Taos, do my thing, go to the galleries, stay there in the night, and I thought, okay, well, this is nice, but I called Lorraine, and I said, I think I'm coming home tomorrow. She said, I think my trip is over. So she said, well, have you been to out in the country and been to Ghost Ranch? Ghost Ranch is where Georgia O'Keeffe lived. The
So
second
wait,
part of
go back. She asked you where had you been? Have you been to where?
She said, have you been to Ghost Ranch?
Okay. Okay.
Ghost Ranch is like Georgia O'Keeffe, the famous artist, lived the second part of her life there, and she made it
Mm.
famous. And it's this area that's just gorgeous mountains, and so I said, oh no, I haven't. So maybe I'll go there before I come home.
Okay.
So I went there, and it was beautiful. It's kind of sad because it's kind of in disrepair, but it's still beautiful, and the surrounding area is incredible. And then I cruising around the Ghost Ranch area, and these two women are sitting outside of this kind of cafeteria, and I said, I'm going back to San Diego tomorrow. I don't want to go through Arizona because it was too boring. And she said, well, why don't you go through Moab? And well,
Oh,
Moab is in southern Utah.
yeah.
Never heard of it. And she said, it's just a gorgeous drive. So I said, okay, why not? So I put on my GPS Moab, and it takes me through southern Colorado, which is, northern New Mexico and southern Colorado is just really cool, just gorgeous, different scenery. And you get in Colorado and you can see more rivers, and,
Yes.
it's just beautiful fields of wildflowers. And anyway, I'm driving and driving. It's about 7 hours. And I get to Moab at night, and I kind of see on this one side of Moab the beautiful rock formations, but it's kind of too dark. So I cruise into Moab, get a room, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go home the next day, and I'll probably see some cool stuff. So I leave, 8 o'clock, have the breakfast at the hotel, and I'm driving, and I come up over this hill, and I swear, Gino, I just the landscape turned into this. I'll just describe that. I just started saying, "Help me, God."
Wow.
I couldn't. I mean, I'm hunched over my steering wheel, coming down, on these roads, and looking at around the reds and the greens and the purples and the yellows and the whites and
Hmm.
the structures. And I mean, it's like, I wasn't crying, but I felt like just, and I don't know why I said, help me, God, to understand what I'm looking at here.
Wow.
And then so it goes on, and I went to, the scenic overpass, and I'm looking at stuff, and it's just totally silent,
Mm. Mm.
and it's hot, kind of pretty hot. I get in the car, and I think, okay, well, that was great. And then there's more. And it's like, oh my God, it doesn't stop. And I hesitate to say, well, I won't say this, but I wanted to used to describe it, but it kept on going, and finally, eventually, it was. I got kind of tired of the desert landscape, and you
Yeah.
get toward Las Vegas, and everybody's driving fast again.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, oh no, come on, this is. I don't want to go back to civilization. But to me, the blessing in all this is that the surprise, the
Mm.
unexpected. I thought, well, I know something's going to happen. I know I'm going to Taos, and that's where it's going to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah, we never know, do we? When these revelations are going to happen. And not only did this revelation happen when I didn't expect it, but it happened when it was kind of like, well, the trip was nice, but I still kind of feel like, wow, something's missing.
Mm.
Well, this gorgeous landscape, God's creation, it washed away all the negativity
Mm.
without me thinking. I mean, it's like I took a shower in the beauty of the universe, and it just like cleaned my slate.
I love that. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna hold you right there because to me that's such a visual and it's so accurate that you were rinsed away with all the negativity and filled up with all the love.
Yes.
And just I love the story. I love your story. I love that you came on to share it. And I know it will touch many lives. And for people to remember that in the midst of any kind of crisis or any kind of like, hey, I gotta get the hell out of here. Sometimes it's a walk around the block and it can
Hmm.
shift you. I love that you did that and that your wife lovingly said, go do it.
Yeah. So I have two other things to add to if you're going to do something like this kind of trip, and I see a lot of people taking trips by themselves now.
Yes.
Get sidetracked. Don't get off of your itinerary. Let yourself open up your mind to change your itinerary. Slow it down. Drive 55.
Yeah.
Just slow it down, and listen to what other people might tell you. Like like this person that said, "Well, go to Moab." Had I not taken the time to talk and be friendly, I would have never seen that, and it
Right.
wouldn't have happened. And yet I just, okay, I'm going to take a little detour, and that day of driving was so incredible. The next day, so you know, it's the unexpected, it's the surprises, I think, where these nuggets of experience happen.
I love it. Doug, thank you so much for sharing. That's so awesome. I love that. That's really beautiful. And so, in that divine light, we at Universal Spirit Center, we are getting ready to celebrate our 21st anniversary, which
Right.
is fantastic. And so you want to be able to be around. Um, let's see here. Do we have September the 25th? We're having a big shebang, our two gatherings, and then we're all getting together afterwards to break bread. It is a wonderful Mediterranean feast that will be provided. As always, you can go to Lee at universalspiritcenter.org or Gino at universalspiritcenter.org and check us out. We also have coming up, I'm so excited about this, our barbecue and blues concert. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Save the date for October the 15th. We have a 6-piece blues band that will be coming in, along with I get the pleasure of sitting in with them on a set as well. So it is going to be rocking. And whether you're a vegetarian or not, we got you covered. We got you covered. The tickets will go on sale at the end of the month. And also, one of the wonderful things that our Racial Equality Project does, we are breaking bread together on September the 18th at one of our neighbors, a Ethiopian restaurant, Awash. I hope that you can join us after second gathering. So let me get us together as we pray out and just give thanks for this day. Doug, I want to thank you for being here. It's been so beautiful to have your light and spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Gina. Love you.
I love you too, my brother. And so, as we just sat in this divine space, that there is only one, as Doug so lovingly shared with us, that the old was washed away and the new was filled. I am knowing that right where you are, the thanksgiving of today, the joy of this moment is filled in your spirit, in your heart, and in your life. Thank you for joining us on Thankful Thursdays. Thank you for joining us Sundays, every Sunday and Wednesday. Thank you for being a part of our family because you belong here. Peace and blessings, my angels. I look forward to seeing you all very soon.